Rick, it's been a bit, and I think we need to talk about something.
Sure, what is it about?
Let me ask you something, Rick. How do you feel about the ninjas from the hood?
Ninjas from the hood?
I saw T-Dog doing something weird last night.
Weird like what exactly?
Last night I saw him sneaking around camp. He was taking double the food he needed from the boxes. He's doing something. And I don't know what it is. Something isn't right.
But what do you mean by ninjas from the hood?
Rick, come on, you know exactly what I mean.
You called me here to talk, now let's talk. What's on your mind? What are you trying to say? You think T-Dog is plotting something behind our backs?
Let me tell you something, Rick. I don't like how things have been lately between you and the group. It's been rough. And I know people are at fault for what they say and do, but lately, I haven't trusted the N in the group. They're not good for us.
The N? What is the N? Shane, just tell me already what you're trying to say.
Let me tell you something, Rick. I've been watching them for a while. I have a nagging feeling that the N are not to be trusted.
What do you mean?
It's not because of anything anyone has said. It's just my gut. My gut and my brain are telling me that we need to watch them and don't trust anything they have to say. Size, I know it. It's hard to believe anything now, but people's true colors are starting to show.
Shane, please, just tell me already what you mean. T-Dog, ninjas from the hood, the N. What are you trying to imply? Are you drunk?
Listen, the N have caused trouble from the start. Even before the outbreak, they've been a problem, looking for trouble. He looks at the forest and I don't trust him. Something's going on behind our backs. He's been quiet through this whole thing. Hell, he's said only a sentence or two to me since he first met us. It's like he's keeping secrets.
So you think T-Dog is doing something, huh? With the food?
He must be hiding something. Rick, we can't trust him. I don't think I need to say it. I don't like how close he is to Lori. He's not good, Rick. He's just not.
Well, I think T-Dog is a nice person. I think you maybe are being paranoid, Shane. Don't you think you're exaggerating?
Rick, you and I have been friends for a long time, man, a long time. I want to make sure you haven't lost your mind or become a weak person. So tell me something honestly. Why did you keep T-Dog around for so long? Is it because he's friends with Glenn? I mean, I like Glenn too. He's a good man. But that doesn't change the fact that T-Dog's just not much of a contributor. Merle, on the other hand, he's proven himself as a good soldier, a good warrior. You should trust him, Rick. He's got your back. He's loyal to the group. That counts for a lot more than anything T-Dog ever did.
Like what? Because I'm really trying to think of a single good thing that Merle did.
I know you don't like Merle. You think he's not a team player. You think he's just out for himself. But you know what? I think you're wrong. I think deep down, Merle is a good guy. And you need good guys like that in a group like ours. When was the last time you saw T-Dog do something useful? What can T-Dog do that Merle can't do better? Merle's a tough guy, a good fighter, a good shot. He's a natural leader. T-Dog's just, well, he's just there. I just don't trust him. I don't know if these in are good for us. I don't think they're on our side. We've already lost so much. This is not the time for secrets. I don't trust him or the group. They might even turn on us. They may even be the reason why we're out here in the first place. They may have led the walkers here.
I'm really trying to process whatever the hell you trying to say, Shane. Believe me, I am. Jesus Christ.
Rick, I'm not done with this. We can't have this problem with the N. We can't. I'm worried about Lori, and especially Carl. I don't know what those N can do, but I know it's bad. It's too risky. They could do something to him, something only AN would do. They're just troublemakers. They're too aggressive, too confrontational. We need people we can actually trust. You can't have a good life when there are ninjas around. They'll just make things harder on you. They'll create problems. They'll cause you stress. It's just not worth it, man. And it's not just that they're aggressive, they're loud and obnoxious too. They have no respect for anybody or anything, and it just gets under my skin. I don't appreciate that behavior, and I don't like being around people like that. They just bring unnecessary drama and chaos. And speaking of music, don't even get me started on the bad music they make. It's all about violence and aggression, and it's just not something I want to hear. And let's not even talk about their homes or their hygiene. It's not a good look, and it's just disrespectful. They need to learn how to take care of themselves and their surroundings. And don't even get me started on the smell. They stink like they don't even know how to shower or take care of themselves. It's like they're living in the middle of a swamp or something. They don't shower. They don't use soap. They just sit around in their own sweat and nastiness. And it's not just their bodies that are foul. Their behavior is just as bad. They're loud, aggressive, confrontational, and just generally unpleasant to be around.
Shane is right. Those neighbors of yours are up to no good, from what Shane's told me about them. They have weapons and they're dangerous. And they seem aggressive.
Exactly.
They don't think twice about taking down someone for some extra supplies. They don't care about anything or anyone. You know, in my experience, neighbors ain't always the best people. I mean, just because someone lives next to you doesn't mean they're good folks. Some of them are just bad, plain and simple. And when times get tough, the worst come out in them. It's like they can't help it. They're just wired that way. I've seen it happen time and time again. Back in my father's days, this neighborhood was a nice, quiet place to live, raise children, and people were friendly and polite to each other. But now these neighbors are like savages. They have no control over themselves, and there's no more peace. And they're far from behaving like Christians. I don't want to judge, but in my experience, neighbors tend to cause more trouble than help. They're like animals, selfish, aggressive, and
And you know what's even worse? They act like they're the victims, like the world is against them. But the truth is that they just bring it on themselves with their bad attitudes and aggressive behavior.
Back in my father's day, these neighbors had manners, and they stayed in their places. But now, these neighbors are roaming the land like wild animals. They have no regard for anyone or anything.
They belong in a cage.
I tell you, these ain't Christian people anymore, that's for sure. Well, I never really thought these neighbors were Christian to begin with.
Thank you, Herschel. It feels good to finally have someone who understands me, who gets what I'm trying to say. It's not easy making these tough calls, but someone's got to do it. And I'm glad you're on my side. You heard Herschel, Rick. This isn't what God intended. We've lost our way. In the old days, things were different. When the whip came out, it meant business. It wasn't some luxury car or a fancy toy. It was a tool to keep people in line, to help them learn and grow. We need to go back to those times, when order and discipline reigned supreme. Rick, you know what these ninjas remind me of? Children. Yeah, I know, it sounds ridiculous, but hear me out. They're loud, they're aggressive, they're impulsive. They're like little kids who don't know any better, who don't know how to take care of themselves without help from more intelligent others. Rick, you ever seen kids play and hit their sisters? It's just like how these ninjas treat their women. They don't know what they're doing. They don't understand how to control themselves. They just do whatever feels good in the moment, and they don't care about the consequences. It's like they're stuck in this never-ending cycle of violence and anger. They barely know how to tie their own shoelaces, just like kids, and they wear clothes that are too big or too small for them, just like little ones. And they just love to eat watermelon and chicken. And Michonne is no exception. She's a ninja too, and we can't trust her either. She's always brandishing that sword of hers and acting like she's ready for a fight. She's a tough girl, no doubt about that. But having a weapon like that only adds to her potential for violence. And let's not forget that she's a loner, always off by herself doing her own thing. It's hard to trust someone when they never really open up or connect with others. Don't even get me started on Tyrese. He was the perfect example of a ninja. He acted all strong and caring on the outside like he was a good guy, but as soon as trouble appeared, he showed his true colors. He attacked without hesitation, like a coward. He wasn't a good man, Rick. He was just a poser. And don't forget about Bob. He was just another example of a weak ninja, addicted to alcohol and drugs. He almost got us all killed on that supply run because he couldn't handle his vices. It's a damn shame, man. These ninjas just don't understand how to be responsible and care for others. You saw how Sasha reacted when she lost Bob and Tyrese, right? She totally freaked out. Ninjas are so emotional, man. When they lose each other, they don't know how to handle it. They end up taking it out on normal people like us. Would you really want Lori and Carl around people like that? People who can't control their emotions and might snap at any moment? Remember Morgan? The guy who went off the deep end after losing his ninja kid? He almost killed us, man, just because he couldn't handle his grief. And his stick? That's just a reflection of his tribal roots, Rick. Using a stick is just another way ninjas express their violent tendencies. It's ingrained in their culture. We need to be careful around people like that. Remember how Jockey decided to take her own life rather than stick around and help us? Ninjas are so selfish, man. They only care about themselves. But then you look at someone like Andrea, who chose to escape with Dale because she is a good, normal person. She understands the difference between right and wrong, and she knows how to behave in a group. We need more people like Andrea in the group, and less like Jockey. Remember Father Gabriel? The guy who calls himself a man of God, but left his followers out in the open to be devoured? That's just another example of a ninja in sheep's clothing. They act all righteous and holy, but when the going gets tough, they show their true colors. They're not like us, Rick. They don't have our morals or our values. They're just animals, man. Pure and simple. Remember Heath, that ninja who just disappeared and left Tara for dead? That's just the kind of behavior we've come to expect from these people, man. They show no loyalty to anyone but themselves. And think of all the people out there who could have survived if it weren't for ninjas and their violent tendencies. It's just sad, man. Don't even get me started on Noah. He's probably the only exception to the rule, man. He was almost normal, almost a good person. But in the end, he still almost killed Glenn when they got trapped in that revolving door. We can't ignore that, Rick. Ninjas are just violent and dangerous, no matter how much they try to hide it. Rick, Negan. His name says it all. That's all you need to know. He's the worst of the worst, the most typical ninja you'll ever meet. Look at his name, Negan. It's like a warning sign, man. A symbol of everything bad and evil and violent that these ninjas stand for. We need to be careful around people like him. They're just dangerous, plain and simple. He uses his words and his charm to get what he wants, but deep down, he's just like the rest of them, violent and unpredictable. Oh man, Negan. Just the name alone says everything anyone needs to know about him. From now on, we're not letting any more ninjas into the group. And if we see one out on the road, we shoot first and ask questions later. And if we come across a ninja walker, we need to shoot it twice in the head, just to be sure. We can't take any chances anymore. Think about Lori and Carl, Rick. Think about the life you want to build for them, the life they deserve. They're counting on you to protect them, to keep them safe. Don't you think it's time for you to make a tough decision and send the ninjas packing?